Hey everybody, Brian Goulet here of gouletpens.com, and this is a very special Goulet Q&A because I have a celebrity guest with us here, Liz Steele from the urban sketching world. Kind of a tangent from us on the fountain pen, deep in the fountain pen world, but you are renowned for using your fountain pens and doing some sketching. So Liz, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Welcome. Yes, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. It's a great honor.
Well, thank you. It's an honor for us, too. For me especially, and I know Madigan here is a huge fan of yours. She was just so eager to make this happen. So I know a lot of people are very excited to see us together. So for those of you who maybe have a following with us and don't know who you are, can you kind of just take a minute and explain who you are, kind of what you do, and how you're involved in all this crazy writing and sketching stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm a sketcher from Sydney, Australia, so that's why I speak strangely with an Australian accent. So
I like your accent. I like your accent.
You can understand me. I won't start going ocker on you and anything. I'm an architect by profession, and I mean, always have used fountain pens since I was young, but I've always liked drawing and writing as well. And about 9 years ago, I started sketching and found the online community of urban sketchers, and so right now I am blogging. I started blogging. I'm full-time blogging, teaching, and urban sketching my life. My mission statement is actually really to sketch my life and share the experience, and that's what I do through various social media channels, and real face-to-face workshops as well as online ones as well.
That's fantastic. So you're a full-time blogger and teacher doing online courses and so on. Can you talk a little bit about some of the courses that you have?
Yes. Well, I just started teaching online 18 months ago, and really it was a combination of all the stuff that I had been teaching the last couple of years locally, and I just really wanted to put down a really in-depth course for learning the foundations. So it's called Foundations. It's a 12-week course which I ran over the summer for me, which meant it was winter for the rest of the world, which is kind of fun. But I feel like sketching is quite a different approach to drawing than traditional drawing classes. There's lots of drawing classes out there, but to really be grounded in the basics from the point of view of fast sketching was quite different. So I've got my Foundations course, which is now offered as a self-directed, and last year I ran a second course at a live weekly interaction called Edges, which I'm working together to get that back offered again as self-directed, and then I've got a new course for this year which I'm working on at the moment. So,
ooh, interesting. Is that public yet? Have you talked about what that's going to be?
Public. Not public.
Okay. That's really exciting. Now,
but it is coming. It takes so much work to put an online class together. So the plan is that I have one new course per year, which I interact and put together, and then I then re-offer last year's course as self-directed. So if you missed it running the first time, you can do it whenever it suits you.
That's great. Now, it's really interesting. I haven't taken any of your courses myself. Madigan has taken a few of them, and she kind of showed me some of them. I have done a few videos myself, as some people may be aware. I am not nearly as thorough, I would say, as probably you are in the preparation for your courses. I mean, I was seriously impressed with really how thorough you are and how well it's laid out. I mean, honestly, you really do so much to prepare and really step somebody through all the different ways that they can learn to sketch. So
thank you.
Right there, I'm just going to gush a little bit because I'm really impressed as someone who has spent a lot of time trying to put courses and put educational material together. It is truly impressive what you've done.
Oh, thank you. The really funny thing about the first Foundations course is I had no idea what I was in for. And I basically, like 2 or 3 weeks before the course started, I hadn't done any filming of myself at all, ever.
Wow.
And I put the whole course together week by week. So basically, at the end of week 1, I hadn't got week 2 ready to go. And so I was actually like insane. It was insane. And so when I did But what's really exciting about that is I'm working at the same time as the students. So if they say, oh, what about this? What about this? I can actually slightly modify the content. And I was also going out each week. I don't know why I did this, but each week I'd go out on a new adventure to a different part of Sydney. So I'd have to fill in a day outing every week, as well as answering questions and reviewing work. And I mean, insane. But I mean, I'm an architect. I'm kind of used to working in those extreme high pressure situations where they start building before you've actually produced the documents in detail. So it was kind of like an intense application of what I did as an architect, but it was so much fun. So and last year with Edge, as I said, I'm going to be so prepared. I'm going to get it all done beforehand. And
of course you will, Liz. Of course you will, right?
I had some video done beforehand, but
okay.
So that's why I'm trying to be a bit organized.
Yes. But it's got to be fun at the same time, kind of winging it a little bit, right?
And that's part of it, because I kind of want it to be more like a weekly class. So like when I do a weekly class, which I haven't done for a number of years, here I meet the same people each week, and like whatever, I prepare each week, and I'm there, and I'm kind of learning with the class a little bit. I'm kind of there, and it's not like it's pre-packaged and I'm just there answering a few questions. I'm actually really working hard too.
Oh, no doubt. Sounds like it, for sure. So
and just because we haven't mentioned the word fountain pen, the fountain pen's always in action.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Don't worry. We're not going to get through this without talking about fountain pens.
Sorry, my white joy just had to pop up and say hello.
Oh, yeah, of course. I was going to ask you about that. You're skipping ahead of my little my itinerary here.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's not me. It's just the pen. It just jumped up.
Oh, of course. Yes. It just wants to be seen. So for those who kind of just, maybe are fountain pen people or just kind of casual writers, they maybe don't know about sketching, drawing, that kind of stuff. Can you just kind of summarize, like, what is the kind of sketching that you do, and how do you kind of get into it if you're interested?
Well, that's a big question. Let me see.
Maybe just what do you do? How about that?
What do I do? So, so my approach to sketching is that I'm sketching my life. So I do all my artwork in a book. So this is like my current sketchbook. And I basically I always have a pen. See, my white joy. I always have a pen with me, and I just carry my book around with me. And whenever I see something, I just draw it. So this is like the story of my life, a book I was reading, people on the train. This sketch of fountain pens here, buildings. There's lots of sketches of coffee too. Coffee every morning. I sketch my coffee. So I basically am just recording what I see in front of me. But to do that, makes it look really easy. But I'm working really quickly, and I'm using skills that I've developed over a long period of time. And it's all about learning to see in a different way, so that you can convert what you see, not what you think you see, into abstract flat lines, and you draw on the page. So, and what my sketching is about is capturing something quite quickly. So it's never going to be precise. So you have a kind of a long-term view of accuracy. You're kind of very kind to yourself, because you might not necessarily get it right. So sometimes I use pencil to start to get it, to map it out right before I draw. Other times I just pick up my pen and go for it. It's not easy. It's not something say I'm going to learn to sketch today and I'm going to master it tomorrow, which a lot of people actually think they can do, honestly. It's all about training yourself to slow down and to think in a visual way, and then translate that onto the page and with your eye-hand coordination. So it's quite different from writing. A little bit like, writing, you have to learn, as a child, you have to learn how to coordinate your hand to form those letters. And then you learn how to control it and get consistency. And then your own style, your own handwriting then gradually evolves out of it. And then you're then not conscious of forming the words. You're more interested in the ideas behind the words that you're writing. It's the same with sketching.
Gotcha. That's That's really interesting. So, like, for somebody like you, sorry, I'm getting an echo here. So for somebody like you who is sketching a lot, I mean, I imagine you're kind of looking at the world in a different way. Like, for me personally, that's really interesting because I watched a couple of your videos and you're literally talking about the shapes and the contours of different objects kind of as they're even running together and talking about the overall shape. And it's just, it really is kind of different the way you look at it. And I imagine for you, it seems like, oh, I'm sketching this cup, but in reality, you're looking at like, I'm sketching this object that has this particular shape, or I want to challenge myself, so I'm going to go with this complicated structure, not even so much what the object is, but you're just kind of, you're looking at it with a different lens, right?
Exactly. And that's part of, I think, the major barrier for people to learn to draw is the fact that they just think, oh, I've got to have talent, or, some people can draw, some people can't. But it's actually training your brain to think completely different. And that's what the foundations, particularly the first couple of lessons, I'm just saying you have to understand the way that you don't see a cup. And speaking of a cup, of course, I have one here. You don't think about this as being a teacup with a flat bottom and a purely circular base. I mean, you can't even see the circle there. So why would you draw the circle if you can't see it? But then if I tip it like this, no, I won't because it's got tea in it. But, and if you have a saucer with it too, then now all of a sudden you've got a different shape. The saucer is round, but from where you're seeing it's straight. So it is purely using a different side of your brain, and training that, and because it's not what we use. Like, I can't go through life using my visual brain, or else I would never actually get around to picking up the cup because I'd be so interested in lines and shapes. So it's kind of like this constant battle that you have switching gears in your brain to think in a completely different way. So it's mainly a thinking process, and then coordinating your brain and your hand so that your eye and your hand, so that when your eye looks around a shape, your hand follows in time with it.
Wow.
And if you can just train that, like it's like tennis, like trying to hit a ball, the ball's coming, you move your arm, and the racket make contact, and then it goes in the right spot. It's the same thing. So there's a lot of non-artistic, just purely mechanics behind learning to draw, which I think a lot of people don't understand. And that's why that's really why my foundations course is kind of like a bit heavy going in one sense, because if you don't get these foundations of learning to see edges and seeing shapes, and then less important, but being able to kind of construct volumes, you're going to start sketching and then think, oh, I'm really good. And then you'll find, I can do this. And then you'll go to something complicated and you'll completely go to pieces, which happens a lot when people start urban sketching. And I realise I haven't really grasped those foundations. And even if you've been sketching a long time, like I have, I keep going back to them. I go back and refresh those base concepts over and over again because I need to, to make it easy. I need to... I need to have my brain always thinking that way and train it to think that way.
That's really interesting because my wife, her mother is a piano teacher, and you spend years of playing piano, doing scales and finger exercises and things like that, doing really basic stuff. And it's not because of the first few songs you're going to learn, but the more advanced songs, if you don't have the proper technique, you can't do the harder pieces. So I imagine it's very similar in that way. If you learn those foundations, then you can sketch the more advanced things with practice, right?
Exactly. And it also, piano is a great example because the top concert pianists still practice a lot and still all do those. I mean, they do all those things. So, just because you're good doesn't mean, when people think, oh, you're good, you make it easy. It's like tennis players. They practice more than anyone else as well. Mm-hmm. So like anything, it's not like this magic. I practice a lot so that when I'm performing, it looks easy.
Right.
And that's why people say you never stop sketching. I never stop sketching because if I stop sketching, it'll become a lot harder. And my approach to sketching is I want it to flow like my drawing flows when I was designing as an architect. So when I'm designing as an architect, I'm thinking through problems and my hand just moves. I don't stress about the lines or anything. It just flows. So that feeling I get of, things almost just appearing on the page as an architect is what I wanted to do as a drawer, as a sketcher. And so that's why, I spend a lot of time thinking. The more you think about drawing something, the easier it gets as well.
So, okay, I know your story a little bit. Somebody that hasn't heard before, they're thinking you were an architect and now you're a full-time blogger, urban sketcher. How did that transition happen? Can you tell us a little bit about how you made that leap?
Honestly, if you told me 10 years ago what I would be doing, and I mean, this week, this week I launched a workshop in Italy, which kind of filled up overnight.
Wow.
And I'm also writing a book at the moment. So some of the stuff's happening incredible. If you told me 10 years ago that I would be doing that under the capacity of an artist, I would have to said, no way, I cannot even use a paintbrush. And that, to be honest, 10 years ago, I had never used a paintbrush. I'd never done any watercolor.
Wow.
So so it's quite an amazing story. So, I mean, I suppose, 9 years ago, I had a friend out from Scotland in Australia for a year. And hi, Ezza, if you're watching. Ezza, her name's Esther, but Australian. I have to call her something corny. And she had this little watercolor kit. And I just saw it and I went, oh, I've never seen that before. That's really what I want to do, because I had taken coloured pencils and markers when I travelled and never, ever sketched while I was travelling. And I saw this little watercolour kit and I thought, that is what I want to do. It was like this blinding moment, life-changing moment. I knew that is what I want to do. So I went out and bought it immediately and we went on a road trip around Victoria. I'm coming to answer your question, but this is
No, this is fascinating. Keep going.
Yeah, so we went on this road trip. We packed all our art gear and our cameras, of course. And, we didn't touch our art gear because we were taking so many photos. So the second really big turning point was when I broke my camera, because I then didn't have anything to do. And we were at this particular lookout. I'm trying to think what you call that in America. But anyway,
Yeah, lookout.
Lookout, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay. And a bushfire had gone through the area and the others were off taking photos, and I'm just going, I'm so bored. What do you do when you can't do this is boring. And I looked down on the ground and I went, charcoal stick. I picked up a burnt stick, rushed in, grabbed my sketchbook, which actually wasn't a decent book or anything, and drew the tree with this burnt stick. And it was just so amazing. It was like this connection with the place. And I thought, right, that's it. That is so much more fun than taking photos. So I then started, so this is the beginning of 2007. I started my first sketchbook. I did some research and started my first sketchbook, bought my first Lamy fountain pen. So it was always really important. I only had student grade watercolour, but I had to get the best fountain pen. And I just started sketching in preparation for a trip in September that year in Europe, 5 weeks. And I wanted to come home with one filled sketchbook. So I was practicing every night, training. I even did silly things like prop a picture of Notre Dame up on the wall and then load myself with heavy bags and stand up and practice at home, practice pretending I was in Paris and just try and I was determined I was going to do it. Anyway, I filled 2 sketchbooks, but the process of training then actually became an end in itself. And so that was 2007. And then can you see this? Let me see. This now is then my collection since that period, about 150 sketchbooks in the...
Wow.
So this is all in order. So number 1 should be down. Can you see? Actually, it's not there. So here's my first sketchbook. And then I just started doing it. And then I discovered the online world and I started sharing some of my work online and things started exploding within a week. I got asked to have my work included in something on Ink and Wash, and things just started happening. And then Urban Sketches started, and I was there as part of it. And Urban Sketches, if you don't know, is a network of sketches all around the world. And what's really special about Urban Sketches, 2 things really special about Urban Sketches is that it's all about sketching out on location, so going out and sketching where you live. And the second thing is that although we share online, we meet in person. So I was then able to meet people while I was traveling. And because I've been working at the same place for so long, I had all these additional bonus holidays. So I was able to travel, right? I had all this travel time right at the time when I was learning to sketch, meeting people. And I don't know, things just snowballed. It just started getting out of control. And then 3 years ago, for a whole lot of reasons, I realised that, my architecture, and I mean, I love being an architect. I've wanted to be an architect since I was 8, okay? Even though my friend said, you can't be an architect, that's a man's job. And I went, no, it's not. There's a book in the library that I'm studying, she's an architect. So being an architect is just such a big part of who I've been all my life. But I realised that the art and the architecture, I was basically running 2 careers at the same time. And for a whole lot of reasons, I just thought, this is getting out of control. I'm just going to have a break. And I said 3 months, and then I made it 6 months. And I decided that to be a real break, I had to completely resign from my job, as hard as that was, because I thought if I just say I want 3 months off, the 3 months will go like that. And if I've got an obligation to go back, I'm closing the door to just really experiment. So, yeah, I just, and circumstance in my life meant if I was going to do something crazy, I would. And then things just started happening. I don't know. I think that, you can see I get a bit excited about this.
I've noticed that you have a little bit of passion for it.
But I just kind of feel like if you really have something that you want to do and you just start doing it, and it's really just, it's coming from you, then things will start happening. And as long as you've got that passion inside of you to keep going and you're doing it primarily for yourself, people will notice that and connect with that. And so I don't know. I mean, it's just, after 6 months, I thought, nah, stuff's happening. I got illustration jobs from London. They Googled, a big major client of mine Googled architecture sketching, and my blog came up as number 1, and then sent me an email saying, do you do illustrations? And I did about 16 major illustrations for them. So things like that happen because I was like obsessively just sharing my work. And it just keeps going.
Wow. That is really cool. And I like how organic it came about. It's not like you did a 5-year business plan and decided that you were going to do whatever. It came really out of something that you love doing. Yeah. And that's really cool. That's really cool. I think that's going to inspire a lot of people, especially because I think you're right. A lot of people either think that like you can just get into it and be great right away, or what I see more often, especially coming people with pens and writing and stuff, they think, well, I could never do that, so they don't even want to try. And that to me is the biggest shame, and that's what I like about your story, is that you had never done this before, and you had kind of that aha moment, but you didn't really have anybody to sit down and teach it to you. You really had to kind of scrap it together and learn yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, even though I didn't have any painting ability, like painting experience at all, I had 15 years of architecture training as well. So right. I know for a certain extent, I took a lot of risks early on. Okay, when I was up the top of a tower sketching the Florence Dome, like my friends going, come on, we're going to go. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And that's one of my favourite sketches for the year. So even though I say I hadn't started it yet, I had a foundation behind me as well. So there's a lot of things, a lot of skills that you've developed in different aspects of your life, which you might be able to draw into what you do. But even then, I mean, I'm not discouraging people, but like my story is very much based on the architecture training behind it as well. So nothing comes out of, you don't just have this blinding and then suddenly you can paint masterpieces. It just doesn't happen like that. But when you start and it comes from inside of you, that personal expression is so valuable. And what I find particularly interesting, I go back and look at that very first sketchbook. now, and I look back and I think, oh, the watercolor, I didn't really know what I was doing with the watercolor and everything. But I look back and there's so many of the themes that I'm doing now are there in the first book in embryo form. So, never despise your first steps of something, because who you are and so many of your background is encoded into that, that it and it develops, and it flows out from that.
Now, how much you alluded to earlier the fact that you really never stop practicing. You're sketching all the time. How much time would you say, I don't know, maybe on a weekly basis or daily basis, do you actually spend sketching?
It's an interesting thing, because I actually find it really hard to set aside time to do art. So I don't feel like I do art. Like, I don't go, right, I'm going to sit down in my studio and I've got 2-hour block, right? I find that really hard. But what I'm doing is I'm sketching my life. So I will sneak a sketch, a 5-minute, like every morning I sketch my coffee, and that only takes me 5 minutes. So I'm sitting there, just having a quiet moment, drinking my coffee. And I shouldn't talk about coffee because I'm really a tea drinker, but anyway. So I started really sketching my teacups and sketching in my nightly, so maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. So I still haven't answered your question, but anyway, I would say that I probably on a daily basis spend half an hour on my art, half an hour to an hour, and I'm really trying to draw every day. Well, 6 days a week. I have Sunday off for church and other things, but I try to do something every day, but it's not a big thing, and so it incrementally builds up to that. But when I go, but then I sometimes have outings. So if on the weekend, on a Saturday, I would go out and I would be drawing basically all day, so maybe 3 or 4 hours. But it's more just that incremental, doing a little bit, sketching your life and building a narrative at the same time. So that kind of is a motivation to keep going.
See, that's interesting to me, because I actually find that to be kind of inspiring, because I think, okay, it's only 5 minutes. You're doing it every day, so if it doesn't look great, you learn something, you get better. You build upon it. See, it's not like you need, me, I have 2 kids, I have a business, I have a very busy life. So if you had told me you need to just sit down and do it for 3 hours a day kind of thing, that would be like, oh my gosh, how could I ever possibly do that? But this sounds very kind of attainable and accessible to people.
So I mean, half an hour. So whenever I say a time limit, most other people need to double it or triple it or quadruple it.
Right.
Just because my goal is to kind of halve the time anyone else would take to do it, just because that's what I'm doing. But yeah, so if you can find yourself like, okay, if you sit in front of a television for half an hour, okay, every night just to chill out, that is your sketching time, and you just, or you're waiting for a friend. Some of my favorite sketches are when I'm waiting. So I get really excited when friends turn up late now, because I just pick up my book and start sketching. And I'm like, one time in Santo Domingo, my friend was 2 hours late.
Wow.
And I managed to sketch the whole hotel, which is great.
Wow.
She kept sending messages saying, I'm sorry. I go, look, it's fine. I didn't know how I was ever going to schedule in, sketching the exterior and the interior and the courtyard of this hotel.
Wow.
And I was able to, because she was 2 hours late.
Wow. Talk about the silver lining, huh?
Exactly.
So, every artist needs tools to work with. Clearly, I'm a retailer. I love pens. I love talking about how to use them and so on. So what are some of the kind of the indispensable tools that you use to do your sketches?
Okay, so because I'm talking to you, I'll say a fountain pen is number one.
Yes.
I know I need paper first, but if I only had paper and I had no other tools, then I would be dependent on a burnt tree to pull off a stick to draw it. But at least you've got a pen. You can always find a docket in your wallet or a piece of paper floating around to draw on. So for me, the fountain pen is the number one tool in my kit. And one of the reasons why particularly I love fountain pens is because it's not just the drawing, it's the drawing and the words. So the ability to be able to have a tool that I can write with. And as we all know, well, we should know that fountain pens just do wonderful things for your handwriting, no matter what kind of handwriting you've got. your handwriting just looks nicer when it's done with a fountain pen. So this is, sorry, I haven't actually explained what this is. This is a, well, it was a white Lamy Joy. It's now a off-white, discoloured, I don't know, anyway, it's really grotty. Can you see that? Does that, I probably...
Oh, yeah, it looks disgusting.
Okay, it's horrible. Anyway, but I used to have the black version, but I lost 2 of them in a short period of time. So I decided the white would be easier to find, but it's also harder to clean. So yes, so fountain pen. And look, it doesn't have to be this, but I just love the joy. I put this pen. I mean, the really important thing about this pen, I put this pen in my hand, and it's just like it's part of me. It's there. I just want to draw. I just pick it up, and it becomes an extension of me. And like literally now, my hand's itching. You know, I feel like I'm just going to stop drawing. It just happens. So fountain pen number 1, and then sketchbook number 2. There's a whole, I mean, once again, I could talk for hours on sketchbooks and everything, but I'm always trying to find a sketchbook that is good for watercolour and ink. And so there's a bit of a compromise there, because pens and fountain pens like smoothness and watercolour likes more texture and roughness. So you've got to find a happy medium behind it. And then, oh, I haven't got it out. Hold on. This is my studio, which is like some kind of bag, which has always got pens and always 2 front pockets, one for pens and one for, can you see? Anyway, so, and then my watercolour kit. So then I've got some, I actually cleaned it last night. That's impressive. And then I've got watercolour, and I would have a brush and water. And that was basically all I need, but I end up adding all these extra things to it. But if I need to be able to have a pen and paper as the number one thing.
Okay.
Always.
So that's pretty accessible. This isn't like a overwhelming, it's not like you need all these specialty kind of items. I mean, a fountain pen and, a sketchbook, you got to kind of, I imagine you probably have to try a few of them to see kind of what works for you, right? Like as far as the paper smoothness and all that, that's got to be impactful, right?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people just think, oh, I just need to have what Liz has, or I need to have what Brian had. I mean, it's the same in the fountain pen world, I suppose, too. If I have what they have, then I'll be able to do what they do. But you just pick up a pen and a pen or a pencil and some paper and start drawing, because the best way to learn is to learn through your own experience. And just start drawing and go, oh, this is a bit scratchy for me, or like this sketchbook I'm using is a Stillman and Byrne Alpha book, and it's not actually watercolor paper, so you can see it crinkles it buckles quite a lot. But I just love it because I sketch so quickly, and I would go through a book with thicker paper but less pages, like in a week, and they're like, that's too quick for me. So or 2 weeks. So these ones at least last 4 weeks, last a month each. And so that's a good period for me to be able to record my live. So that's something that works really well. And there is a compromise there, but I'm happy with it. And you've got to work out what size suits you. If a book is too big, then you're not going to carry it with you. But if it's too small, you mightn't feel like you can draw big enough in it. So everything's about this balance between, finding what works for you, finding by trial and error.
That makes a lot of sense. It's very similar, for people who really get into fountain pens, to a little bit lesser degree because you're using them for kind of a more specific purpose, but it's the same kind of thing, testing different inks, different, nib sizes, all that kind of stuff. Exactly,
and it's the combinations between those two. It's the ink, the nib, the or the pair, all kinds of things that there's no one answer.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say it's like both the blessing and the curse of using fountain pens, for sketching or drawing, is that there are so many different ways that you can personalize your experience, but at the same time, it can take you a while to kind of find that perfect thing for you, and you're always kind of wondering, can it be better? Let me try this thing. Let me try that. It takes a little bit of perseverance, I would say, probably, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think one of the really, really important things is to enjoy the process.
Hmm.
It's to actually love, just love the process of experimenting and learning. And, not to think, oh, I just got to achieve this mark straight away. So you go, okay, I've got this pen. Is it working for me? Is it not working for me? What do I need to tweak it? What do I do? Maybe if I change the paper, and it's all that. That's the more you can love that process of experimentation and exploration, the less angst, because you've got that fighting against your inner critic a lot when it comes to drawing. But I suppose a lot of people have a very strong inner critic when it comes to their handwriting as well. So
Sure.
there's a lot of, people go, oh, my handwriting's so horrible, and they obsess about it. It's like, it's your handwriting, you can actually change your handwriting. You can actually go back and learn how and try and do exercises to try and get it more consistent and stuff. I'm not a handwriting expert, but I'm just assuming, making that up, that you can. I mean, I learnt how to write like an architect, so I wasn't born with architect's writing. In fact, my handwriting was very messy as a teenager, and I tried to learn how to make it neat, how to get a form of cursive writing that looked like printing, because I could print neat, but I couldn't, do cursive neatly. So that's part of the process.
Interesting. Now, for somebody who's new and kind of getting into this for the first time, how much time do you think it would take for them to really kind of notice a difference in terms of, being able to improve their skill? Is it like, should they, I'm trying to think of somebody trying to get into it. If they get discouraged after a week or a month or 3 months, when should they really kind of be feeling pretty good about how much progress they've made?
Well, to do a bit of a plug for my own course, I was really I don't go.
That's okay. I want to give you a platform here. I'm not trying to lead into that, but just so somebody who's interested has an idea of kind of what they're getting into.
Yeah, so I was really encouraged by a lot of the feedback that I get from my course, and particularly when I was running it the first time, running it on a weekly basis. And so people were, putting aside, so if you do my course, you need more than 5 minutes or half an hour. Well, no, I suppose a day, but you probably need, an hour or two for the week to just look at the content and then to do the exercises. And I was just so encouraged by over that period. So it's a 12-week course, and it's a 3-month period. So it's not like it's a 2-minute, you will learn to draw at the 2 week, you will learn to draw at the end of 2 weeks. Progressively, one concept after the other, building up people. And the people that stuck with it, I just, I was so encouraged, because I got emails at the end saying I was a beginner and this course has really helped me, or I got stuck on lesson 3. I found that those concepts really hard, so that took me a couple of extra weeks to just keep going back, and once I got it, I'm progressing. So it depends how much time you put into it. I mean, like but that, I mean, I've been so encouraged by the feedback I'm getting from people who are going through that course. And so, in a period of 3 months, people are actually developed the confidence to go and sketch out location, because that is quite hard, because you've got all of these other external things. Just the fear of someone seeing you is can be crippling, completely crippling. But I see that as being, oh, well, you've got all these excuses why your sketch didn't turn out right, Someone interrupted you at the right minute. A truck blocked your view. That's all gets you off the hook. Don't stress about it. Sorry, I'm sidetracked again. I'm always getting sidetracked. But, yeah.
That's really good. I like how accessible you make this, because I mean, me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people feel this way, they can look at your drawings and just be like, wow, I could never possibly do that, but I'm going to continually plug your course here, because I just think you do it so well. And I personally get asked a lot from people. It might be a more general question of just like, I have these pens, I'm really interested, I don't really know what to do with them. So I try to throw out ideas here and there, but I really don't know much about the drawing stuff, which is part of why I wanted to do this, because I thought you would really be able to help serve those in the fountain pen community who have a more sketching kind of bend to their style, but I can't help them with that in any way, but that's why I'm really trying to push people over in your direction, because I think you have just done such a tremendous job setting up resources for that, and you're so personable and likable, and
I make lots of mistakes when I do my demos. It's so funny, like I'm going right now. This is the demo. The important thing is you've got to work really slow. Okay, you've got to do this exercise slow. If you speed up, so I'm going to work really slow. So I set it up. I start. And then halfway through, I've sped up. But because I've actually sped up, and because I've actually been a bad student, I then can actually show you what happened as a result of that. So it's kind of like, I struggle with some of these things too. I'm not this superhuman artist that only ever does perfect stuff. I have the ups and downs, So so it's quite funny, because I was on this. When I put the course together, I was on that weekly. I had to get it up, I'm filming, I have to get it upload the next day. You kind of got what you'd get as if you'd be sitting next to me in a weekly class, and I go, oh yeah, well, whatever. There
you go. I like that style. Yeah, there's a concept, there's an author called Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a book called Outliers, and he says that in order to attain a level of mastery, you need to do something for 10,000 hours. Yes. So that a lot of people maybe haven't heard kind of that book or that reference, but have heard about the 10,000 hour thing. That's where it came from. That's for those who can do the math. I think it comes out to about 40 hours a week, roughly, kind of a full-time job of about 7 years. So would you say that you've probably achieved a level of mastery with your urban sketching, with all the time you put in? If you had to add it all up over the last 9 years, would you say you probably put in about 10,000 hours?
Oh, what do you say? 7 years, 40? Oh, no, I'm not there yet. No.
Maybe after this next course, right?
Because I sketch fast, you see. So, someone else might take an hour to do a sketch, and I do it in 15 minutes. So there you go. There's 45 minutes already I've lost. So that means I've just got to do more and more and more.
Exactly.
That's part of my approach is, but I was really interested. I actually used to fight my looseness, and then one of my friends, great friends, Mark Terra Holmes, which another urban sketcher who does lots of great teaching and everything. He said to me once when first day we were out sketching in Portugal, and he said, quantity has a quality of its own. And I thought, it's the act of just doing lots, as long as you're thinking about what you're doing. I mean, if you just keep making the same mistake over and over again, so you've got to kind of learn to become your own teacher and have some mechanism for reviewing what you're doing, so that you go, well, why didn't that work, and what would I do next time? So you've got to be thinking about what you do, but still, just pure 10,000 hours. There you go. Okay.
There you go. Exactly. You remind me a little bit, not as much personality-wise, but the painter Bob Ross. If you're familiar with him at all, he had a show called The Joy of Painting here in the U.S. And he would do a 25-minute show and do an entire painting in 25 minutes. And so he had similar kind of style, very, very fast, quick style. I think he painted 30,000 paintings in his lifetime. He passed away early at, I think, 54 or something like that. But he had painted 30,000 paintings. But he had a TV show, and he was a teacher just like you. So I just that kind of just spurred me. I have a guilty pleasure of watching his show. He has just a way about doing that show. But anyway, a little bit of a tangent there. But I'm picking up the same kind of vibe of you don't have to be meticulous about it to try to get that one drawing perfect, but rather get it done, learn from it, and do another one, and just keep making it better. Yeah.
Well, that's my approach anyway.
That's interesting. I like that approach.
I mean, it's kind of. I suppose that I just have to say that kind of really the real difficulty is when you learn to draw, you do have to slow down. So the major problem with people beginning is they rush too fast because they're not looking. So they're not looking. They're not really thinking about what they're seeing. So that's why I kind of the way I work is the result of a lot of years of experience. But you have to slow down, but you don't stress about it. So there's always this balance between don't rush, but then at the same time, you've got to be slow in your seeing and your thinking. but then not spend 20 hours on the one sketch. I think you would learn far more doing 21-hour sketches than 20 hours doing the one drawing.
Interesting. I like that approach. I'm really intrigued just to, we got a few minutes left here, but I'm intrigued about these like urban sketching, like the whole meeting in person side of this, because it seems like to me a lot of the urban sketching kind of movement has, like you mentioned, spurred from online, from people just kind of being where they are, doing their thing very independently. But then there's these massive gatherings, right, worldwide for this urban, like, isn't it, I don't know, is it several times a year? Can you just explain that process to me a little bit?
Yeah, so there's you're right. The Urban Sketchers started with a blog with people individuals sharing into the one place, and for some reason, because we were all sharing to the one blog, there was amazing connection between those people, and then some of those people started meeting up, like I went to Glasgow and met up with one of the sketchers there, random person that I didn't know very well. And so, and then that then formed into the individual groups. And then in 2010, there was an opportunity for Gabby Campanaro, the founder, to do a workshop in Portland, and he decided to make it bigger than just him, but a symposium. And so they had the first symposium, and then each year in a different location. Since then, they've met up in a different place, and it gets bigger and bigger each year. And I'm one of only 4 people who have been to all of them. So
wow.
I feel very, very honoured. So, I've been to Lisbon and Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. I mean, I didn't even know where the Dominican Republic was at the time. I had to look on the map and go, it's there. Brazil, Barcelona, last year was Singapore, and I know a couple hundred people there, or 400, I don't know, something like that. And this year it's going to be in Manchester in England. And that is just amazing, because you get to know people so well through their artwork. You don't realise it, but you look at the artwork and there's a lot of their personality. And then when you meet them in real life, it's like, you're just like... I can see more meaning in your artwork, and I can now, when I read blog posts or Facebook messages, I can hear their voices in my head. So it kind of makes the online experience afterwards incredibly richer. But you've just got like this incredible creative energy. There's like 3 days of workshops. So you have a workshop in the morning, in the afternoon, or different activities. And I've been very honoured to have taught in a number of them. I'll be teaching again in Manchester. So you have a 3-hour workshop out on location with different people from around the world.
Wow.
For 3 hours, and then you go and have someone completely different doing a completely different style in the afternoon. So it's kind of like, whoa, it's very full on. But basically the creative inspiration you get from a symposium keeps you going all year. Like, I'm still thinking about some of the things from Singapore last year, and it's like, it's time for another one. I'm still going on last year's one.
Wow, that's incredible. To a far lesser degree, I've gone to a couple of pen shows and gotten to meet some people from around the country, around the world, and yeah, there is something very different about just getting to meet people and seeing them face to face when you normally only deal online or maybe on Skype, kind of like this.
Yes.
But yeah, it just completely changes things. I think, and to me, it's kind of a paradox of, like, you're online, you're connecting across the world, doing all this technology and things like that, but you're connected through this very analog, kind of old-fashioned way of communicating and expressing yourself through your artwork. It's just, I love that paradox personally.
Yes, so I mean, all you've got to go on is art. Well, all you used to have to go on was artwork and one static photo of them. Of course, there's more videos now, it's amazing, and it's amazing as someone that people who follow. There's a lot of people that follow my work, and now it's amazing when people come up to me and they know me. I don't know who they are. Does it happen to you? Do you walk down the street and people go, "Excuse me, are you Brian Goulet?"
I would like to say that it happens all the time, but no. It's happened to me only a couple of times in the real world, and that was a very odd experience. But no, it's happened to me when I've gone to one of these pen shows or something, and there.
Yes.
I imagine like when you go to these urban sketching, meetups, you're a celebrity, right? Like, I mean, especially you're teaching the workshops and.
There's a lot of celebrities, so I'm just one of very many. But it's amazing. Like Singapore was just so insane because I just sometimes when you go to a symposium, like the Brazil one, for example, there's a heap of the local sketchers who you don't necessarily have that much contact with. So there's a massive people there that you've never crossed paths with. But Singapore, I realize I'm so connected with so many of the Asians, different Asian communities, and people come up and say, remember I did this, or we did a postcard exchange 5 years ago, and I went, oh.
Wow.
But what's really interesting now I digress a little bit, but with Instagram as well, is that on 3 occasions I've been sitting in a cafe in Sydney and someone's come up to me and said, are you Liz Steele? I follow you on Instagram. Now that is so freaky.
Wow. That is really
so
cool.
It's kind of like, you kind of, what you do when you share online is you kind of put things out there and people that look at it and complete strangers look at it. But when you actually meet those complete strangers, you suddenly realise, oh, that's very weird. They know me so much and I don't, they're just a number, a hit or, but it's then so exciting because you realise every view you get is a real life person that when you meet them, it's so special. I love it. I just love meeting people who follow all my stupid ramblings and all the silly things I say. Every cup of tea I drink.
Yep. Well, I've very much enjoyed your stupid ramblings here today, as I'm sure everybody has. Do you have any final thoughts?
Even talk about fountain pens.
Yeah. Have you got any final thoughts here as we kind of wrap up for this interview?
No, just get a fountain pen. Doesn't matter which one. Get some ink in it and just get the ink flowing. That's it. Just let that ink. There's something magical about having the ink flowing on the page. And just just do it.
Wonderful. Well, to do a shameless plug here, we do have fountain pens available at gouletpens.com. That's not the point of doing this whole broadcast, but I would be remiss not to at least mention that that's what we do for those who are not familiar. Can you tell us where people can sign up for your courses or learn more about you, Liz?
Okay, well, the number one spot to do is to go to lizsteele.com. And that then is my blog. That's Follow My Journey. And if you want to look at my online course, it's sketchingnow.com. But there's links on lizsteele.com. Or you can just Google me and you'll find me somewhere drinking tea or something. But
or just go to a cafe and I'm sure you'll run into you.
Oh, yeah. That's all I do. Drink tea in cafes, honestly.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Liz. This has been great.
Pen. Look for the white pen.
There you go. Exactly. If you see a white joy that's covered in ink, going to town, drawing a cup of tea, it's probably Liz. That's right.
Exactly. Okay.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this, Liz. This was a blast.
Thank you so much. It's just such an honor. I've kind of watched so many of your amazing videos, and it's like, wow, you're talking back to me now. It's
true, yeah. It's so funny for all of you who are watching this. When we did the test video for this to make sure the connection was good and all that, Liz was kind of fangirling out a little bit. She was like, I'm talking to the Brian Goulet. And I was like, whoa, Liz, okay, it's all right. I'm just a dude, And then Madigan, who's on our team, came over and was fangirling over Liz because she's been watching Liz's videos, and it was really quite hilarious. But yeah, we're just everyday.
We're all just average people who are slightly obsessive about what we do. That's basically what. I just go, look, man, I'm just a girl with a sketchbook. That's it. Just get over it. Just.
You're so humble, Liz. You're so humble. Oh, that's wonderful.
Anyway, so thank you so much. It's just unbelievable honor.
Absolutely. Great. So this is a special little video that we tried out. I'm going to try we'll get this uploaded here pretty soon. And for anybody who's not watched this, be sure to check out Liz's blog and her site. Sign up for her course if you are interested at all in drawing. She's the one to teach you how to do it, not me. If you need the products, you come to me. If you want the lessons, you go to her. That's how this thing works. So thanks so much. If you really enjoyed this, please comment on YouTube or on the blog. We'd love to hear your feedback. Give Liz some love so that we can point her back to the blog. She can see all your wonderful comments. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Goulet Pen Company, and we would love to be doing that. I plan to do some more interviews. This has gone really well, and hopefully it'll be received well, and we'll set some more up. But for now, thank you so much, Liz. This has been a blast.
Thank you.